think that's a good choice for Terran or Protoss? So far, everyone we've talked to in our post-game interviews said that Cloud Kingdom was a bit of a hitch for the player who didn't choose it. Babochi saying the races aren't shown in the bracket. We know that. We'll try and suggest that in the future. It's a good thing to have.
In the top right, we have our Protoss player who took game 1 with a miraculous storm after storm after storm, defeating 200 armies. It is Paladin.
In the bottom left, we've got our Terran opponent in the red trunks. He tried and tried and tried to push his Protoss opponent, but ended up coming up short. His name is Dfraz. We'll see what he comes out with this game, if it's going to be more of the same or if he's going to try something different. This map definitely favoring the Terran drops, I would say, which is probably why Dfraz chose it. The loser of the match before gets to choose the map. The initial choice is coming by downvotes, and the last map remaining is the one that they play. So obviously there's a lot of drop angles here, the one in the back. And the natural has a nice drop angle here, even with this high ground, so if you don't have any air units, you can hide your medevacs there. He's going to finish that supply depot, not send his SCV out as he has in the past to do the early scout. He's just going to stick right around and put down that barracks. Gateway also going down for Paladin, as I'm going to take a drink.
Dfraz putting down his first gas and almost mirroring Paladin does the same thing.
Paladin, same thing he did last game, scouting all the corners to make sure there's no proxy barracks going on. We haven't really seen much cheesy action going on in this tournament. Closest thing we've had is a 4-gate, which...
We did see a proxy Stargate, I think yesterday.
Yeah, I know being a Protoss, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I don't see that so much as cheese because it's not really an all-in, I suppose, but I can see that. Both players swapping high fives as they cross the center.
And once again, Paladin is going to be locked out of the Terran base and greeted with a Reaper.
He's going to get into Protoss's base and see what he's got, which is a single gas and a cyber core that's half done. Not really much you can tell about where he's going to go at this juncture. Could be any number of things. Paladin going to take a few zaps at that supply depot as we see a mule fly down in front of our faces.
Probe just hanging out at the top of the ramp is going to be greeted by that Reaper, and it has nowhere to run.
It's like an engineering bay going down at Paladin's natural. Dfraz saying no to any early expansion. But at the moment, it still looks like Paladin is gonna maybe be going towards a 4-gate. He's just got his warp gate going down one gateway, chrono boosting probes with only one gas. That looks like a 4-gate type of structure to me. As a Reaper is gonna come in, you typically want to put down the extra gateways as your warp gate is about half done to have the timing correct, but that Reaper is gonna get shooed away by the Stalker and the Zealot. Waiting to see what Paladin ends up putting down here. Mothership core coming out.
Paladin does see that engineering bay and is starting to pick away at it, trying to get it out of there. The probe does come down, intending to do some building, but ends up getting killed.
That Stalker is going to need to be vigilant of that Reaper if he doesn't want him to jump up in the base and see what's going on. Chrono boosting that warp gate's now at about half done, so if he is going to do a 4-gate, he needs to get those gateways down. One additional gateway going down. The Reaper does come in, so he's going to see the gateway building. A probe hanging out down here, I'm assuming to build more gateways, but with that Reaper run, he probably does not want him to see that.
Dfraz, with the information that he's gathered, decides to make a factory, a mine out of it, then put down a starport, and has a command center going down. Still queuing up many Marines.
Looks like Paladin's going to opt to go for the Nexus with that Mothership core. The timing is pretty nice. As the Mothership core pops out, if you put down the Nexus around the same time, you'll have enough energy for the photon overcharge right as that Nexus finishes. But it looks like he's going to move forward with the Mothership core with these two Stalkers to see what kind of poking he can do as this mine parks itself at the top of the ramp outside the natural. Looks like we're going to see a detonation that will cause some pain to that Stalker. A little bit of shield damage to the second one. Not going to get very far.
And that door is
Large
down. He
Marines.
could walk right in, but instead starts shooting and then runs away. Those Marines come down, seeing the Zealot, and then a mine gets planted top of the ramp. Does get the shot off.
Zealot's going to eat that one for dinner. Both players look like they're kind of moving into a macro style here. That mine still is at the ramp. The cooldown's ending, and one of these stalkers is going to get killed.
Oh!
That's a nice hit. Stalker and Pro moving back as he's seeing his attempted push is just not going to be successful. Well-placed mines as Medevac heads out full of Marines.
There are 2 stalkers in the back of Paladin's base, anticipating a play such as this.
Medevac just cruising along, waiting for the cooldown is done on his boosters, so we'll see if he ends up boosting in some. I think most opt to save that boost to boost out, but he's going to be met by a bunch of stalkers, so this drop is not really going to get very far if Paladin is paying attention. Like
and he does boost in, so he just sees those and gets right out.
Good play by both players. No units lost either way. Dfraz now preparing to build a bunker at his natural.
Does reposition the mine for a more defensive location.
We agree, W3 Liffin, it should have more viewers. So tell people about it. Everybody out there, tell people about this tournament. We're coming towards the finals. We're going to have some amazing matches coming up. You should join us. Well, you are joining us, but you should tell your friends to join us. Another Medevac loads up, going to head towards the natural, but again, Paladin is just on top of this drop play. He's got 3 stalkers back there to prevent this drop. Dfraz is going to have a hard time here because he's used to these drops being much more productive than this, but he's having a hard time pulling it off.
A little bit of hesitation there, not really sure where he wants to try and get in there.
Sharon 82, yeah, we agree that the brakes are rough, but unfortunately we cannot control that. It is a land environment, so it's not a structure as some other tournaments may be where it has scheduled matches and stuff. Being a land, we do have to take some breaks so that the attendees can eat the food that the land provides for them and such, along with a couple of the breaks we've had to take to deal with some university-related things, but we try and keep the breaks to a minimum and let you know what's going on. But I do see this drop coming in the back. It's going to try and take out this pylon. Stalker's focusing down that Medevac. Going to be killed. Those Marines are left for dead.
Not before Artosis pyloning those 2 forges that were currently producing upgrades, so he immediately puts down another pylon, trying to get those powered back up so that he can get those upgrades out.
These 2 upgrades are half done. Unfortunately, that pylon he puts down is only going to power one of those forges, and he's going to throw down another one back in the middle. 1 Marine left here to watch the 3rd base as an SCV puts down a supply depot on the right to find any runarounds. His 3rd command center goes down as well.
A warp gate or a warp prism is going out, but there is a Marine to spot it, so Dfraz is going to be aware of that, but he stops to make a Zealot to clean up that Marine.
That Marine is on owned property. Trespassing is not allowed. Unfortunately, that also does tell Dfraz that that warp prism is on the field and coming in, loading up his natural with the mules, more medevacs, full bunker. Food supply is pretty darn even at 101 to 95, although we found last game that that means absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Paladin doesn't care if you're at 400, he will still bring you back down.
As we said, both of these players are Master League players, so this is a fairly evenly matched game as we've seen. Very macro-oriented. Paladin is just saturating his bases nicely. He should probably be taking his 3rd unless he's going to make some kind of large push, as Dfraz is doing that exact thing. Moving his factory out to see if there's anyone manning the towers. Warp Prism warps in 4 Zealots, loads them up, and is going to drop those right in the natural expansion of Dfraz and probably try and warp in 4 more, or possibly move up to the main once he drops those. Looks like he's going to opt to warp in more, but that whole army is there, so that's going to be easily cleaned up. Look at that stutter.
Yep. So, no worries as we see another Warp Prism being made in the robotics facility, and that is just queued to go down to the bottom right of the base.
Signature of Paladin incoming, High Templar, Storm incoming. Level 2 ground weapon research. 2 weapons for Terran and armor number 1. Armor 1 for Protoss as well. Everybody's getting their upgrades in this lull in the activity. Second Warp Prism coming down the right side of the map as Dfraz moves up the left side of the map towards Protoss's third base, which is completely undefended. So he's probably going to force to cancel here. 2 High Templar here, so we'll see if they can do not have Storm research done yet. So they are going to just morph into an Archon, which is likely going to die as well. See if those medevacs get close enough to get feedback. They do, which those one manages to survive that. Stalker get a couple more hits and kill it, but these bio units alone try and move up here. They are going to get repelled. A couple of good force fields here is really going to trap them in. This is going to be a nasty outcome for Dfraz. Those force fields go down. Nice Guardian Shield as well to protect the units from the damage there. His upgrades are pretty much the same. And that was a pretty good engagement, but our food still remains almost identical after that.
Dfraz was opting to take another base after that attack, or during that attack, but he doesn't have a whole lot of army back at home.
3 Zealots chase down the remainder of that army with 1 medevac left hanging here at the third base.
Warp Prism does morph and send in a few Zealots to presumably attack that third base.
Third base is pretty well defended. Dfraz kind of has wind of what's going on as he sends his army down there. More barracks going in to... Actually, I don't know if I like that position of barracks. It kind of hinders him from getting down there to defend that if there's an attack from the right. It's like more upgrades going down. Mobius reactor for Ghost for the energy upgrade. Level 2 upgrades for ground Terran. Level 2 and level 3 upgrades for Protoss as the Zealots step in, does a little bit of mineral clumping to keep those workers safe as the army cleans it up. Warp Prism warping in more Zealots into the main. This is going to be tough to deal with because there's no units anywhere near this. Most of these SCVs can away, which you
Third goes down for Paladin, and he immediately gets a couple of probes there mining away.
He does come back to clean up these Zealots, but he does take some pretty steep losses in workers. 13 workers killed by Paladin in that attack. Looks like Paladin's just building up his army at home. Dfraz has taken a great food lead at 172 to 143, but I'd still consider these armies fairly equal given what we saw last game. Level 3 ground weapons upgrade coming for Terran. Level 3 weapons for Protoss. Level 3 armor for Protoss as well. So the upgrades are staying fairly even. Infantry armor level 2 is just finishing for Terran. This bio army moving out. There's a couple Vikings in here. I think he was maybe expecting to see some Colossus, which the Robo Bay is now going down to start that production, but he is still a ways off from having any number of Colossus that will be an impact.
Forward Paladin is going to scout this army coming up a little bit before.
Look at that reinforcement line from Dfraz as he's now maxed. Does not see there's a pylon down there, but that will be very little. Paladin is a rock star, says Bubba Rowley.
A couple of ghosts come up trying to engage with any army that could be coming its way, but the army's on the other side of the map.
Dfraz sending in that factory to potentially distract the army, but Paladin is all the wiser moving up. There's going to be some amazing storms here if he gets them off.
Amazing EMT on those High Templar, limiting the number of storms that are going to be going off, but those storms still are doing devastating damage.
Look at the Zealots power in there with their charge to move in. Archons in the back, Stalkers doing damage to those medevacs. 2, 3 of them go down. Is he going to get the other one? It's so close. One more shot. One medevac full of units does make it out, and guess what? The foods have inverted themselves.
they have shifted once again.
Now 153 for Paladin to 128 of Dfraz.
And Paladin is restocking his High Templar army.
Looks like the barracks count for Dfraz is getting high. A lot of tech labs researching cloak for the ghosts coming up. He's probably going to use that cloak as he did in the last game to cloak them, get them up there so that he can do those EMPs without being detected. A couple of medevacs load up with mostly Marines and are going to boost their way out. Dfraz taking a 4th base on the right. Dfraz has been usually 1 base ahead of Paladin in this game, but Paladin just has Dfraz's number.
3-3 is about to finish for Terran's ground army. 3-3 has already finished for Protoss's ground army.
Extended thermal lances coming close to wrapping up, as well as 1+1 shields for Protoss. That's a very telling upgrade. Surprising it's so late for Paladin. Last game he was getting towards 2 and 3 by this point in favor of those Archons.
Looks like a little bit of a misrally there. He is now, I think he meant to put down a Nexus but did not go down, so he's just long distance mining from that 4th.
Amazing storm down at Dfraz's planetary fortress kills about 10 SCVs, it looks like. Just caught that at the tail end. As Paladin's army moves down the middle, Paladin now is at 200. Dfraz is now near 200. This is going to be a 200-200 army, which, if the past is any indication, is going to land in Paladin's favor, but let's not jump to any conclusions and see what happens here as these armies engage. Paladin doing some nice moving around of his units, getting those...
Ghosts are moving forward. Is he going to cloak them?
Oh, feedback of all the ghosts.
Does manage to get an EMP off, but not best. There's the storms.
Oh, just amazing storms.
Standing in the storms. Really needs to get out of those.
Planetary Fortress now. Dfraz is retreating back to, as Yoda would say. Dfraz looks like he's going to be able to hold this off thanks to that Planetary Fortress.
A couple of ghosts do come up to join the army.
Looks like a couple more feedbacks there. The Archon's doing all the damage with the buffer of those Zealots going in there. A couple of ghosts left for dead in the back of the army. Like, hey guys, wait for us. Paladin reinforces with several High Templar, which he's going to save to build up energy for Storm. Paladin now still ahead, 156 to 128.
And now we see some more Colossus coming out for Paladin.
The Viking count has been taken out a while ago of Dfraz, and I'm not sure if he's expecting these Colossus or not, but he's not making any Vikings deal with that. +2 Protoss shields going down as Paladin transitions into more of the Archons. As you can see on an Archon, the shields are 350 of the hit points of it and only 10 HP, so those shield upgrades are the money upgrade for those guys as you transition into the Zealot, Archon, Colossus, Templar.
Dfraz has a huge gas bank but no minerals. He transitions a bunch of his command centers into orbital commands to try and get those mules down and get some minerals so that he can have a little bit more production, but he's currently at 150. As Paladin's army starts to move in on that 4th base,
all those mules are going to be cleaned up most likely, at least if not cleaned up, not be allowed to mine. Even if Paladin didn't want to press this, he could set up behind this base, but he's going to go ahead and press forward, trying to get those Templar up there to get storms in on the middle of that army like he has so much before. And there's a really nice one, another really nice one. Mules attempt to repair that orbital command, but it is a futile effort. Storms continue to drop.
Going down on the ramp there.
Now 200 armies versus a 106 army of Dfraz. Dfraz just feeling the hurt of this Paladin onslaught.
And he cannot make more units. He does not have the minerals.
No, he is darn broke.
Dropping 4 mules at the Planetary Fortress on the other side of the map, just trying to get anything that he can.
It just seems really like the middle of that game when Paladin was behind in Game 1. Once he came back, he was back for good. The army of Dfraz coming up towards his 3rd base as the High Templar come in, likely to get the storms
More storms
off.
right on the same ramp. Colossus come up.
Those 2 High Templar try to morph into an Archon, but it doesn't work. But it doesn't matter. The army is overwhelming. GG and well played from Dfraz. Paladin wins this 2-0 in an extremely strong-handed victory.
Definitely well in hand. It looked like he felt incredibly comfortable just playing right into his play. That he just has a great build for that type of situation against Terran. He knew what Terran was doing at certain times. He knew when to expect the drops and how to position himself the correct way.
That was a really impressive game. Just in the beginning of that, I just keep going back. The beginning of that Game 1, I was just scared for Paladin because he was just getting manhandled by those drops. But that game 2, he just set up his units in such a way that it's like he had an intuition of what angle those drops were going to be coming from.